kicking off our Mindset Mastermind and wrapping up this week Exactly What to Say Real Estate Edition. By my math, we are in 13, and we're gonna crank it up because this 2 a day is kind of sluggish. So we're gonna cover 13, 14, 15 because we didn't get to 13 on Friday. When would be a good time? I'm guessing you haven't got around to it, and you have 3 options.
Yeah.
So great content. I can't wait to hear from you guys what your takeaways are on this and how you're implementing it, more importantly. So, guys, I see a lot of cameras off. Thank you, Robert Camacho, getting yours turned on. Good morning, my friend. And let's kick it off. What do you guys have to say about exactly what to say?
Which chapter are we in?
13, 14, 15.
Okay. I was ordering the book. I wasn't listening to you.
Wouldn't be the first time that's happened.
I like I like even just from the title of chapter 13, when would be a good time? And the obvious answer is now, and how that ties into NLP and when would now be a good time. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I love the concept of this question, when would be a good time? Because one, it takes off the table, as was mentioned in the chapter, that there's a bad time. It just presupposes to the subconscious, okay, there's a good time. Now I just got to look for when it is.
Yep.
So by asking this, because it, by the way, it's in my script. I plan on following up, and I don't want to be a pest. When would be a good time for me to reach out? I use that for a lot of different things. By the way, how many people in this room know that they should follow up no matter what the conversation? Raise your hands. And how many people don't want to be a pest? Raise your hands. So here's a way to actually be transparent about that. It, by the way, also eliminates that drunk monkey mindset, because how many of you feel like when you're following up, you're being a pest? Right? So if you tell them up front, hey, I plan on following up and I don't want to be a pest, when would be a good time for me to reach back out? They've now given you permission. And make sure, guys, you put it on your calendar.
I feel like the theme for a lot of this book is being in a space of asking permission for almost everything. And like by giving that person the power, right?
Yeah. Well, and let's just use the first part of that, Stacey. Be in a position of asking. Isn't that really pretty much the whole book? Isn't that what we've been talking about for 3 years in this room? Question-driven conversations. This is now just giving you some more specific framework on how to do that. What else you guys have?
And if you can't get them to pin down a time, like a lot of times people say, well, yeah, I guess in the afternoon, or, you know, I'll say, okay, well, would 3:15 or 3:45 be better? Because if you say 3 o'clock, that could be 3:30, that could be 2:30. When you say 3:15 or 3:45, they go, whoa, that's precise.
Mhm.
And so they understand that it's an important way to schedule.
Here's the fun part for me on that, Josh, and it's a change for me because I've been taught the alternative close. Do you want A or B? Yet if we go to chapter 15, people hate to feel manipulated and nearly always want to feel like they've made the decision. So A and B might feel a little manipulative, yet here you have 3 options. So I'm changing my language now to A, B, or C. Afternoons are great. I've got Monday at 3:15, Tuesday at 3:45, Wednesday at 4. Which of those works best for you? I love that, Josh. And just now upping it to 3 options instead of 2. No more alternative close. We're going to do triad closes on getting scheduled. What else you guys have? Go, Celeste.
I like the
I'm going to
idea.
hit Celeste first, and then I'm going to come to you.
You know, I'll just make it super quick. When I'm talking with someone, I'll just ask mornings or afternoons are better. And if that doesn't work, maybe it's an evening appointment. But I try to qualify the time with the morning or afternoon better first. Because, yeah, I know you're doing the 3. I just feel like if you can get somebody to qualify as morning better or afternoon, it seems to make the rest of it go easier.
So couldn't we now, if we're following the book, mornings, afternoons, or evenings better?
Yeah, I guess that would be good.
Okay. That's why I'm just putting the 3 up there. By the way, I love that it's big picture first and then down. This week, next week, or the following week. Which of those 3 is better for you?
Right.
Just getting in the habit of 3. Doug, what do you got?
Well, there's a sister question to this, and it is when you call them back, you ask them, "Is now a good time?" Because you want to kind of link it back to the previous conversation of when you asked when will be a good time. When you call them back, is now a good time, to make sure that something hasn't come in between your scheduling. So I think that's a great way to get the conversation going. And if it isn't a good time, it's a great time to reschedule.
And as Robert would probably say, it's not is now a good time. It's is now a bad time. Give them the opportunity to go to their default no,
Okay.
which is a yes for you. Something I learned from Robert that I've added into my conversation. By the way, I don't know if it's future, I think it's past. Hey, as I promised, I'm calling you today at 3:15. Is it a bad time?
What would be the worst possible time for me to follow up? Because I'll make sure not to call down.
By the way, you can have fun with that, couldn't you, Justin? Especially if you're having somebody that's being resistant. You know, gosh, when would be the worst possible time for me to follow up so it can go straight to voicemail? You can actually have fun with that, couldn't you? And you might break somebody's state with that. You never know. What else you guys have?
I'm going to use that just so you know, Justin. I think that's hysterical because nobody asked that question.
Yeah.
No
it
normal
might be fun.
person would, but you don't want to be normal either. Let's give it a try. Let me know how it works.
All right. Love that you guys are going to do some A/B testing. What else you guys have? Let's get some other hot takes from this.
Live time, I just texted an agent and said, I don't give a shit anymore. I didn't say that. What I wrote was, when would be a good time to jump on a Zoom with Casey or meet up for breakfast, lunch? I don't want to be a pain in the ass. Is that how I end it? I don't want to be a PIA, or is there another sentence that I could use that would soften the blow?
I use the word pest instead of pain in the ass.
I'm outside of Philly. I know this guy's personality. I think you'd appreciate PIA.
Then go for it. There's no downside. And again, remember, everything happens on the bell curve, guys. So we're going to have edges where things go awry or things go magical. We don't make decisions based on those edges. We do the propensity. I've always done video follow-ups in the morning, or video reminders in the morning for afternoon appointments. I shot one for a 3-way conversation last week and the person canceled. And when they talked to the agent I was helping, well, I didn't like his energy because I wasn't totally formal and professional. I was fun and lively. Hey, excited to see you. Can't wait to explore what's going on with your business and how I can help. That wasn't his vibe. I'm not going to change what I do because of that. So just be prepared that there might be bad responses to any of the stuff we're doing that are the edges of the bell curve. Okay. What else you guys have?
Where's Ryan?
Ryan is in Colorado. He's in his office. He's grinning with a little gray fuzz going on. Yeah, I see him.
I'm here, guys. I'm listening to all these great people speak.
All right, I have a question since no one's going to say anything.
Awesome.
So when we are fishing, and this kind of has to do with our company, are we allowed to post live, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and explain the model online to anybody that wants to jump on and watch it? Are we allowed to do that?
My position is that anything that you are doing in a group setting, you are able to Facebook Live or Insta Live, whatever the hell that looks, you're able to go live with that. Now, stay in the four corners of accuracy about what you're talking about. I had another agent that I coach who went live and was just spewing made up stuff. And so I just want to make sure your content's accurate. And if you're giving out facts, if you're giving out data, that you can go back to the source on it. So any of this stuff, by the way, is going to be much more effective if the people trust you. And the people will trust you if you are being accurate and authentic. So keep that in mind. You're learning what to say. Remember, 55% of communication success is body language. 38% is tonality, rate of speech, the way you talk. Only 7% is the words you use. You guys are loving we're learning the 7% through this book. Yet if the other 93% isn't there, it's not going to be effective. Keep that in mind. Back to that though, Stacy, by all means, man, over and above all of that, overarching is be honest, be authentic. And if you're not sure, speak that ahead of time. You know what? I'm not sure where this came from. 55, 38, 7. I gave you those numbers. Know that in my previous world, the previous CEO removed that because they couldn't find the original source from some coaching I was doing. Know that in Larry Kindle's book, I think it was Larry's book, he quoted the original source, the original resource. So I know what exists out there. I want you guys to make sure you're crossing I's, dotting T's on data. Okay?
Chris Voss also uses those percentage and never split the difference.
And so does Tony Robbins everywhere. The only one I've seen reference actually where it came from was, I believe, Larry. It was one of the books we read today. I'm giving Larry credit right now.
Hey, I have a question. So if this represents the 7%, what book could we hit after the one that we're going to do next that deals with acting or body language, tonality that may not have anything to do with real estate?
You know, that's a good question that maybe we should be looking at on helping with the how. That being said, Stacy, you and I had a great conversation today about this in our coaching. Because Stacy was talking about, hey, should I, get agents together and share some scripts with them? How many people in this room have ever received a script? Raise your hands. Like every hand's up, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many of you know where to find more scripts? Raise your hands. So is the problem you don't have scripts, Or is the problem actually you're not practicing role playing, internalizing those scripts so they become part of your lexicon?
Mm-hmm.
So all these people that are posting, oh, send me the script. I see it all the time on Facebook. Oh, I need this script. No, you don't. You can find them everywhere. This is why we talk constantly about quantity over quality first in your conversations. That you're doing them over and over and over and over all day, every day, if you don't have enough business. And then if you're doing them and internalizing just pieces of this, like having these 30 elements, plus there's some bonus ones that I'm building into my list, where you're staring at them and you can start installing them into conversations, all of a sudden they'll become you. Make sense?
Yeah. Elizabeth,
right.
you can get scripts. Elizabeth had said, where can we find scripts? So I have one I downloaded from Glover U, and then also Tristan Ahumada has scripts. You could just Google it if you want. Lab Code Agents probably has files that have a shit ton of scripts.
Isn't this whole book a script?
Yeah.
They're everywhere, guys. You literally could go to ChatGPT and ask, and it'll probably give you a bunch as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have our scriptology group that I'm building and adding. And if there's scripts you're looking for, I'm going to be adding them in there. That being said, I challenge you, it's not a lack of script, it's a lack of practice, which is why we have the 2 to 5 every single day so you guys can work on this stuff. 2 to 3 practice and role play, 3 to 5 real play. By the way, last week I saw more people showing up for 2 to 3, and then they bail out 3 to 5. The practice and role play doesn't stick if you then don't real play it and use it. That's why it's built the way it is. What else from the content, everybody?
I don't know if it necessarily comes from the content, but just talking about what Stacy was referring to earlier. Yeah, the scripts are a benefit, but I think where this helps so much is you want to make sure you have that process. Like I like that process that you shared with me, and you talked about going Facebook Live. I like playing Allison's latest video and stopping it at each of the sections. And then this is good for the question and answer part of that. And so I don't know if I'd necessarily say scripts are most important in that. It's A, making the calls, and B, having a process. And as long as you stick to that process, the scripts are less important. It's the conversation and it's drawing out the questions. That's the other thing this word track does a better job of. I don't necessarily think it's closing the client. It's drawing out the questions, drawing out the fears, drawing out it sounds too good to be true conversation, and then being able to walk through that. But just that video of Allison, you stop it the first 3 times, like you stop it after 3 minutes, you stop it after about 6 minutes. It's like 9 minutes long, right? And then you can literally go question and answer over each section.
Absolutely. Yep. Having a model that you're following. So you should all have a buyer consultation model that you're following. You should all have a listing consultation model that you're following. Okay. You all should have a follow-up model that you're following. You all should have a database contact model, DMD4, that you're following. This is not, as we've learned before, doing 10,000 things. It's not another shiny object that's going to solve the problem like everybody's looking for online. It's doing a handful of things over and over and over and just following the model. What from the content, or what are you hearing from today's conversation?
On page 88, there are 2 types of people, and I've been both, by the way. Those who will make the calls until a script emerges, or those who will not make any calls until they have the perfect script. Which one am I going to be today?
You're going to be the first one, Justin.
Which one is all of you going to be today? It was fun because that's what Stacey and I were talking about this morning. She is willing to do the work. She's willing to get on the phone and grind, and she's got an overabundance of leads. So does Ryan. Overabundance of leads. Josh is getting to a point of an overabundance of leads. They've got some marketing going on. They're spending some money on that. They're filling the top of the funnel. Stacey had an agent say, I don't know what to do. I am just lost. Help me. She said, great, let's meet at our office. She sat down with them, spent about 30 minutes going through what the day looks like and conversations. This person said they were committed. They were willing to do the work. They were on board. And as soon as it became time to actually make conversations, oh, I'm sorry, I got to go. I've got to go defrost the freezer. I've got laundry to take to the laundromat. Oh, the dog needs a bath. Whatever lame ass excuse to get in the way of doing the actual work. And I love this part I hear from agents, and it's you can tell I'm on fire today because I've been hearing it. It's so hard. I got to sit on my butt. I prefer you stand in my office and talk all day. You're not out in the hot sun installing a roof. You're not out digging ditches. You're not swinging a hammer. You're not carrying heavy loads. You're not on your feet walking around a warehouse all day. You literally get to flap your gums all day, and you call it hard work.
I got to throw in this life example. The last time this happened to me was in 07, 08 when I lost everything. And all I had to do was make phone calls. And instead I had 6 or 7 jobs, which included walking 8 mini dachshunds during my lunch hour, teacher's aide, Trader Joe's 6 to midnight, real estate. And then I started a basketball camp and a girls leadership camp. If knowing what I know now, because I went through that, I am never going to do that shit again. I'm going to make phone calls.
I had a salesperson that broke his back fishing, and he couldn't go out on the lot. This was when I worked at a Chevy store in Austin. He broke his back, and for 3 months, all he could do was sit on the phone. He got every single phone call into the dealership. And so literally sold 40 cars a month. Now they were all half deals because once they got there, he couldn't do anything, but he literally got he had double the number of units of anybody else that had all of their facilities, and he couldn't walk more than, to the bathroom. And, so yeah. And that was over like a 2 or 3 months. It was like consistently, he was number one every month. He's like, I'm going to break my back all the time.
So if he can do it, everybody in this room can do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Camacho, you and I have chatted about the magic that happens when you get into activity. And by the way, just write this one down. Activity solves all problems. So many of you have a mindset of, since chapter 16 came in, thank you, Justin, have a mindset of, I'll make the calls when this. I'll have conversations when this. And this never happens. And the flip side is, I'm just going to take massive action. Activity solves all problems. I know you and I were talking about that last week. Camacho, what do you got on this topic?
Well, the CEO of a previous brokerage I was at used to say, there's no problem in real estate that can't be solved by talking to at least 20 people a day about real estate. And which is getting the actions. That doesn't mean 20 dials. That means actually that could be 50 dials to talk to 20 people. So I want to add something to the conversation about the questions we're talking about, the triad instead of the alternative close. Can you meet at X time or Y time? going back to never split the difference, because when we ask, can you meet at X or Y, we're still looking for a yes. So maybe just tweaking that. Is there any reason you couldn't meet at X or Y? Now we're looking for a no, and we can pin them down a little bit easier because no's are easier to get from folks that we're talking to rather than a commitment yes. Just a thought.
Well, can we combine those three?
Yep.
And is there any reason why you couldn't meet at X, Y, or Z?
Well, I like Celeste. Is there any reason we couldn't meet at morning, afternoon, or evening?
Yeah.
Like I got a text this morning from a lady I was supposed to meet at 1:30, and she's like, "Hey, can we reschedule for Wednesday?" And I just texted her back, "Sure, but I'd rather reschedule for later on in the day if something's come up. How about 6:00?" And she's like, "Oh, I can do 6." So rather than push it off to Wednesday, which will get pushed to Thursday, just loop right back around and find a better. I mean, acknowledge and if they've got something that's coming up, obviously you want to honor that, but try to circle back before it gets too far out of down the line.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, boys and girls, it is almost 10:30, at least here. Celeste, close us out, and then I'll shut down the recording.
I'm adding to this that I love listening to how everybody does it a certain way, because it makes me clearly aware I don't know all the ways. And so I guess I'm saying thank you to everybody for just putting in their 2 cents. The negative approach, Roberts, is there any reason why we couldn't meet? Makes me think, gosh, I could have asked it that way. How many times? And I didn't. And then I was left wondering, could it have been a different way? You know, just I'm glad he put it out there, because now I'll think that way.
By the way, Robert, I'm adding your, is there any reason we couldn't, to my bonus questions on my exactly what to say real estate language sheets. When we get done with this, we're going to have that. And I just might make that available to each and every one of you. So let me get in here. Let me